Let's move on to the next game, and that is Order versus Mammoth. The boys from Melbourne versus
the boys from Melbourne.
From Melbourne. I mean, yeah, you kind of don't own that anymore, unfortunately. But it should be a good game.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, the two teams kind of in opposite positions where I think a lot of people would have thought the changes that Order made in the offseason did seem to be two downgrades on paper versus the upgrades that Mammoth have made. But what I want to talk about is the fact that these two orgs have done similar things, right? Order invested heavily in players last year, and I feel like the potential of the roster was kind of never fulfilled. And, you know, when you have such a heavy investment into it, the players themselves start heaping pressure onto it. And now Mammoth, you know, they came, I think, you know, around the 5th, 6th mark last year. They had to make some sweeping changes across their organization. They got rid of Juice, who was their long-serving captain, and they've invested heavily into players. Like, that is the one thing you can't debate on. Coaching staff and players, like, they would have had to go out and acquire them on the open market, and these players wanted to play together. And now it's not working. And I think that one of the reasons that we could look towards with that is that players and the coaching staff, I think, would be putting a lot of pressure on themselves, and I don't know what other infrastructure they have around it. I know that they don't have an office or a gaming facility like the Direwolves do. I don't know. They haven't spoken in interviews about, you know, psychologists, high performance stuff, anything like that. And my worry about this team is, like, they're actually, like, putting in so much effort. It feels like they're currently, like, kind of ramming their head into the wall, and there's not much focus or direction behind it. Like, that's just my take as, like, an external source. I would really love to hear yours, because I fear for the Mammoth lineup that if they don't pull it together in the next couple of weeks, they're on the ropes of, like, being 5th in the gauntlet, which is so hard to win from there.
Yeah, my fear for Mammoth is that they will fall on their own sword, right? Like, as far as swords go, they've got a big shiny sword that could absolutely win the OPL, but the risk is that they don't find the direction. The pressure that Spawn's mentioning could actually stack up on them. And now that they've had weeks where they're losing and there's that pressure, that adds together and makes it even worse potentially for them into the rest of the split. But they are good enough players that they will still get some victories. It's just that I fear they may not fix the fundamental problem within that.
And when you look at Fantix's interviews, you can see the pressure on that guy. There was even an interview where he said, "I just don't want to do it now, dude. Like, can we do it another time?" Like, he was already done with the day, you could see. And I say it all the time at Order, like, it was actually a blessing we had last year. Like, we would not be, like, internally, like, Aaron or Choo-Choo's wouldn't have, like, leveled up to the level he's now at if we didn't have a year like last year, and we wouldn't have been bold enough to make the changes that we felt like we needed to make as a team. Now, that's worked so far, but I'm also very, very nervous about this game, because Mammoth come off of, like, 3 tough weeks, and if there's ever a team that would bounce back and just, like, annihilate anyone, like, whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's Avant or Bombers or Order in this situation, and just, like, 20-minute game them, this team just has so much talent that if it all clicks for a game, they only need 15 minutes of clicking to, like, destroy you.
Absolutely, they're terrifying.
Well, this is the first game in the Spicy Tips competition this weekend, where we have had differing tips. There's only one person. He's sitting right there. Rusty, a.k.a. Judas. And
betrayed by my own brother.
And he thinks that Mammoth are going to have that bounce back week, so we'll see how that goes. A reminder to you guys as well that we are running the cheap cosplay competition. Send in your entries using the hashtag IamOPL to the @OPL Twitter page.
You're really struggling with that today.
The hashtags?
Or the @Twitter. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just dumb. I think that's it. It's just dumb.
Just type OPL into your search bar.
Just type OPL. There is. That's something I'm not struggling with. Just how beautiful that picture is. Maybe this is the new love, Jake, that you were promised.
Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows?
It probably was. And if you want to check out the POV stream @OPL, you can check out Topoon. He's the one we're going to be following. Absolute monster. All right. To cast this game and to break it down afterwards, we're going to throw now to the desk with Ejim and Pyro.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. We're getting ready to get into this game. So, we heard the couch talk a lot about Mammoth.
Yes.
But we haven't talked as much about Order. They are on the up and up right now, and they had that building year last year. But, you know, 4-2, is this about where you think this team should be at this point, or do you expect them to do better or worse?
Oh, I mean, it's a fairly decent start for them so far. Very rough week 1, 0-2, but then they've completely bounced back, and that's really where I want to start, right? This is a team you said last year was building for them, and Jake said, in all honesty, that they never really fulfilled their expectations to the fullest. They have been building the last couple of weeks. They had that monstrously awful Jace draft in week 1, and then have gone back to very standard stuff. Order aren't a team that I expect to be coming out throwing curveballs, playing a lot of weird stuff. They've got a very young AD carry in Dream. They've got a new player in Jake and their support roster to fill out the rest of these veterans. This is a very veteran team. They have their style, and they just stick to it more often than not.
I think that's fair. And ban about some of the things that they don't necessarily want to deal with. The Silas gets removed very quickly. No surprise with Cassiopeia being banned away either. Remember, we still are on patch 9.2. So none of that 9.3 goodness coming through just yet.
Goodness?
Badness?
It's a little bit everywhere. I feel like top laners may just rejoice because every single OP ever, bar Urgot, got completely butchered. But anyway, a lot of standard stuff. The Silas is definitely a big respect ban here from Order. Mammoth played it last week in Topoon's hands, but that game didn't look good. The Silas did next to nothing. He didn't find an advantage early, and once you get to those mid to late game team fights, Silas is like a... You can punish one person in a team fight. You don't have AoE CC unless you get to steal a big Scion, List ulti or anything like that, but it didn't look all that Crash hot, but they're just respecting it and banning it away anyway, getting rid of some of the wild cards.
That's a new one for me.
Crash hot? Really?
Yeah, I've not heard that before.
That's
Bryce, DJ... What was it? DJ
Pauly
Pauly B?
My last name's Paul, and my first name's B.
That was a hard one to figure out for me, apparently. There's also the Thresh Respect ban, but we've got a quick Lissandra lock-in.
And it's not Order. That, it's the fact that Urgot goes over to the other side, so maybe with the Akali ban from Mammoth, the two majors that you kind of see traded back and forth, I mean, they are flexes, they can go in multiple roles in the solo lanes between Akali and Liss I'm talking about, but that is a big deal to give over. I expect maybe Order to go towards just like a Scion counter pick of Urgot on the top side. Does make a lot of sense. It's just a standard matchup, and that's what we kind of expected here today from Order. Not so much from Mammoth. Topoon is the guy that has played Silas. He's played Aurelia on the professional stage, and he is a rookie this split. He hasn't played a split of OPL before this year. So the fact that he's coming in, getting a very potent 9.2 champion, bodes well for him.
Well, Mammoth's definitely going to need all the bonuses they can get. And, talk about a team that's had some struggles here. They've certainly had their fair share. They did break their curse of not winning Friday and always winning Saturday, but unfortunately they broke it in the reverse direction.
Yes.
They lost last week. Now, let's catch up. Let's catch up a little bit here since the Scion and the Morgana gets locked in, followed by the Zoe for triple. There's a lot of damage on this Mammoth line.
There certainly is, and their comp is very expected, right? Like Zoe, one of the best mid lane answers into a Lissandra that was blinded from Order. Kai'Sa, just top tier AD carry right now. Obviously, Order willing to drop Dream's priority in this draft, but the Morgana is what I want to hit on. She comes into the meta as a counter to things like Thresh, to Alistar, to Braum. You can punish those matchups very well, but throw your mind back to last week. I think it was the Chiefs Mammoth game, where Destiny just got hardcore banned. Like, he lost 6 champions in the support pool, and he was put on, I think, I'm blanking on the champion, maybe a Tahm Kench, maybe he got something like an Alistar.
He got put on Tahm Kench.
Tahm Kench, yeah, correct. So he went all the way down the rabbit hole of like support pool, and all of the tanks were gone bar that, and forced out, and now this is just a Morgana blind, which all of the tanks are now bad matchups if you pick them. Jake has been a mage or enchanter player, as he likes to call it. He plays the Nami, he's played the Morgana for his entire...
the Soraka ban.
Yeah, the entirety of his career, but Destiny is definitely going to have to be reaching for answers here if he wants a good lane matchup.
All right. Let's see what he answers with. All the same, Order taking their time on their final ban as well. Will they stick to it? Yep, it's going to be Tahm Kench banned away. So the focus continues to be put on Destiny.
Yep. Certainly does. Back-to-back weeks here, and he was a guy that was been tweeting about recently, I think maybe last night, that he's confident in their prep. Mammoth, we say every week, they had a very underwhelming start to the year, and they've been very vocal about that. Players, coach, org, everything. And so him coming in, now getting hardcore targeted, Morgana blind, Soraka Tahm Kench ban.
I think that the Janna does seem like the most obvious choice, but they may not pick it here. Instead, they opt into an Olaf for Babip.
Janna does seem fairly rough into Liss Scion. I feel like there's not a lot you can do. Scion obviously has his unstoppable, can't be CC'd, and that's really what Janna offers, and you just get absolutely one-shot by Lissandra. Would be fine in the lane matchup. Olaf is just a strong all-around pick. Babip has been a big Olaf player in the past, so it makes a lot of sense. He's one of the most blind pickable jungles at the moment. His bad matchups aren't all that bad. We've seen this Olaf Kindred before in the OPL go very well for the Olaf, despite the fact that it is a counter pick, and sort of just relies on what happens elsewhere on the map.
Minimizing the negative matchups for sure. So the Kindred does get locked in for Spooks, and now the final answer is what is going to be that AD carry? It's going to be a Xayah.
This is just standard stuff from Dream. I feel like he's very happy to be dropped in priority in the draft. Lucian, Kai'Sa, Ezreal are all the top tier AD carries in the current meta. Vayne is the extraneous ban here from Mammoth to deal with the Kai'Sa lane. So Xayah makes sense.
We might get the AP Jarvan again. I forgot about that, even though it was 2 games ago. Okay, never mind. It's an Alistar. All right. I was kind of hoping that Mammoth would go for it. It felt like, okay, you can get a little harassment out.
And now I want you to take a look at Destiny's face right now. Before he just clapped and was like, all right, boys, this is what we got to do. That was a little bit of a grimace. That was definitely not a smile. This matchup sucks so bad. Alistar into Morgana, you can do nothing. And if you get on the Xayah, she has an oh shit button in the Featherstorm. You cannot combo that guy. So this is a very rough matchup. I expect Mammoth this game, they have a very high tempo jungler in the Olaf and they have a good matchup mid lane. It's going to be about getting things done early and opening up the map. Because if Destiny is to play this game, he has to do it outside of bottom lane. They can set up ganks if they can kind of outplay the 2v2, but this is certainly on the rest of the Mammoth lineup, more so the top side, to get things done early if they're ever to get an advantage over Order this game. And in the reverse respect, Order scale pretty damn well. They have the safety of the Kindred, of a Morgana. They have decent, just standard matchups like the List, the Scion. Xayah is probably the weirdest thing we've seen so far, but this is already a very interesting game.
Certainly think that's the case. At this point, Order just doing a great job of making sure that there's not a lot that they have to worry about. When you kind of really put a nice bow on it there, Bryce, with the fact that they've got good lane matchups, they've got good scaling in their favor. I think the team fight is a solid combination. When you have all those tick boxes here, you got to start wondering how Mammoth is going to try and pull this one back into this game. So, I'll leave that question maybe up to the coach of Order. It's going to be Choo Choo's. Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
Yeah, so how do you think Mammoth will try to come at you guys this game, based on what you've seen in the draft?
I think they picked a lot of strong counter picks, so it kind of felt like they were responding to a lot of our picks instead of drafting for a cohesive composition. But I think when they did lock in the Alistar, and even though it was a rough pick into the lane, I think it really shows that they needed something to match our team fight, to match our composition. So it's an admirable move. But I'm quite happy with the way the draft went.
They certainly, without the Alistar, they don't have a button to actually start anything.
You heavily rely on the Urgot to be the sole frontline. Olaf is doesn't really scale, especially if you're going Redemption. So they did need that tanky support. And
that is certainly the case. You mentioned the Urgot yourself. He seems to be at kind of the height of the meta for a lot of these teams. Were you very willing to give that over to Topoon? Was that based on recent performances? I am asking a specific question. You can neglect to answer if you like.
No, he hasn't actually played a single game of Urgot in this entire split. Which is a reason why we were happy to first pick the Lissandra over the Urgot, because we're putting him onto something that he's not familiar with. We see him play the Aurelia, the Silas a fair bit, but we're more than happy to take the Sign in that situation.
So that's a fairly unique approach to just kind of neglect what all these other teams have been considering a top tier pick. Do you see that as kind of a weakness of your team, or you just don't think Urgot's really worth it to try and force Tally to practice?
I think. We're 4 weeks into OPL, so we've learned a lot about every single team, especially what team composition specifically everyone works with quite well. And we are taking the Lissandra. We felt in this matchup, we know Triple loves the Lissandra. They love the Lissandra Kai'Sa combo. Which is why we had to make the sacrifice of giving them a potential Urgot pick, but we did have the Sign prepared for if they did take it. So this was all planned out.
Because draft is of course a little bit of give and take there. You got to give something over to get exactly what you want.
Especially on blue side. On blue side, you don't get the opportunity to counter pick, so naturally red side gets the better draft towards the end.
Yeah.
But I think forcing them onto the Alistar in the rough matchup, as well as getting our top side that we wanted, we should be able to scale quite nicely.
And lastly, I want to ask you about your bottom lane. Morgana blind is something we don't see all that often, and also Dream. This is, I think, maybe his 3rd game in the OPL of Xayah. You guys are very willing to just kind of drop him in priority and leave him down to the rest of the pool, away from the top 3 of Lucian, Kai'Sa, and Ezreal. Is this a stylistic choice, or where does it come from?
Well, Dream is he has quite a big champion pool.
Yep.
And they did ban the Vayne. And the Ezreal, so they do know the champions that we play, but Ronan's known to have quite a lot of champions, so we're more than happy to. Oh,
yep,
quite low.
Oh, we almost had first blood happening. Well, thank you so much for the time as well, Choo Choo's, and best of luck to the team.
Thank you.
Okay, so Tally did not get first blood. You know, we've had a couple close calls with these coach interviews where, like, sometimes it's been, like, a hair's breadth away from a first blood, but it hasn't happened yet. Speaking of, King ignited, locked up. Here comes Spooks. That's going to be first blood going the way of Order.
And you can see wiping his brow is King. Did not want to be dying in that sort of situation, and it looked like that they actually forced that play. Perhaps a combo in from Destiny, and that's not a heal AD carry, that's a TP, so he's not going to lose much in the front of XP, but there's no way he's living that situation. The Kindred wrapping around behind, just very nicely timed there from Order, and no combat summoner means a very easy punish there from the boys from Melbourne.
Yeah. The other boys from Melbourne having a hard time in the bottom. Destiny, you could see that's exactly why that matchup sucks so much for Alistar. He goes in and Black Shield.
Yep.
But the thing is, you had to know Spooks was in the area at least, because they saw that he was over by Raptor Camp when Babip tried to steal them away.
So they didn't respect the timing perhaps there, and the fact of the matter was that Babip was on the top side of the map anyway, so even if something... It's kind of... This is my view on competitive League of Legends. A lot of people, in terms of like just viewers that don't get to play like full 5v5 competitive games, it's a lot to do with when you just take the logic a little bit further. I like to say go down the rabbit hole. If you're forcing something when you guarantee no, your jungler is on the top side of the map, even if you have absolutely no idea, or even if there's a good chance that the Kindred is on the top side as well, you just don't know. And so like the Kindred will guaranteed always be there first. Because Babip is like, come on man, like I'm farming golems. Like there's nothing I'm going to do. Like I can't get down there. He's level 3 just whacking away on a couple of Krogs. So they opt in, they get punished, and certainly lose the summoner for it.
Yeah. The teleport does mean, though, that there's, a limit to how much King was going to lose on that, as you pointed out.
Yep.
And I don't think the heal really would have helped him there because he was dead to rights.
So just Kindred's behind you. It's a bit of a roughie. Jake.
That was a wide binding.
Yeah, tried to predict the Duke there. Was just trying to defend the ward because he knew it got scrying planted. Was just trying to be a little bit of a brat, a little bit annoying there. Morgana into Alistar, you have a lot of freedom to kind of do whatever you want. You can look for those 1v2 staunchers because you know there's no way they're ever going to be able to commit on you. You just Black Shield the combo. It's a fairly slow combo nowadays. It used to be pretty quick, but with the Ali changes back when he changed his E from a heal to the ticking up stun, you have all the time in the world, so playing at his limits there, and Mammoth just trying to wrestle some control back on the bottom side of the map.
Saw the... hold on a second. There's a blind Infernal Dragon going on right now. Now, okay, Babip's not going to commit to it, is he?
Oh, I think he is.
There's no vision here for Order. This is actually pretty good for Mammoth.
Yeah, Zoe into Liss certainly gets priority early. Liss has the gank set up, which is why you see Triple actually opting in for the cleanse, but just by nature of the game, it's a TP back from King, and Dream had to take a recall after they went for the good play, so Infernal Drake might just be the it.
And there's Answer up top.
That's a commit.
Tapoon. Oh, he's going to get chunked. He's going to go down. That's Tally picking up the kill. On the Scion into the Urgot matchup, of course, Spooks was there to give him the assist.
That's just once again on the other side of the map. Tapoon actually opting in for the 1v2 there. Urgot did not have access. Sorry, Scion didn't have access to the ulti. Tally remains in control of that one, but Tapoon certainly falls down, and that's looking pretty rough. They did get the Infernal Drake, so it's not like they got nothing for their troubles. The bottom lane had priority. They rotate over. It was ultimately free. But the lanes in individual sense certainly paying the price here.
Now Order coming up with those early kills, but it hasn't amounted to a huge gold differential either. And, you can see that the farm is pretty even, split between the way, everywhere but the jungle, but that's, that can be a bit deceptive, as we've seen in the past.
Bad RNG. We got the Air Drake. I want fire on fire on fire on Earth. I just want the back-to-back, but...
Fire on Earth, that sounds like global warming, my dude.
Yeah.
Destiny waiting in the wings
certainly sounds like the answer. Does have flash available. They have absolutely no idea he's here.
They might be able... The thing is, the Kindred's in the area, too, so they're going to feel some security. And Black Shield, nothing doing. Destiny walks away frustrated again.
Yes, that was frustrating. In all honesty, binding. Here we go.
He's going to die.
Oh,
free autos. That's a flash.
Ignite ticking. He's used a pot as well, so he doesn't actually lose his life, but he loses just about everything else. The timing there, you said frustrated. That is exactly it. King was barely getting back into lane, just as Dream was clearing out the minions. He walks a little bit up towards the river, as this blue contest was obviously the play here from Order. But Destiny can make that play out of the bush, and it won't get reactively Black Shielded if he can combo from the bush. But that single step from the Xayah a little bit upwards means that it's a very easy situation for Jake to read. Black Shield very early, Kindred in the area so they can just follow it up, rip back with the feathers, and Binding just secures it.
Yeah, playing well to the bottom side. Bab's going to find there's not a whole lot in his own jungle for him to take here. And that's the price you pay sometimes, trying to make this play. It's just the Alistar. Honestly, I feel like Destiny's probably better doing what he's doing now, roaming, or just sitting back and kind of waiting for waves to crash. It's hard. You can't really try to make these plays because you get punished.
I can't fault him for looking for that, because that is one of those plays that if it works, like you are weak side of the map and your Olaf can't be there and Kindred can once again. If that works, it is doubly punishing for the other team. Because you're getting an advantage on a map, on the side of the map that you absolutely shouldn't. All of a sudden, that blue invade is just a complete waste of Spooks' time if his bottom lane is dead. And then Olaf is just farming wherever he wants to be while Kindred is doing absolutely nothing. So it's an ambitious call, and Destiny is a guy that goes for those ambitious calls. You know, he's got the Hex Flash on the alley. I expect later on this game, we talked about it in the interview with Choo-Choo's as well, he is going to be the one that is starting fights up for this Mammoth lineup. And you can tell literally by his build, the fact that he's got the Mobies pre-Targon's upgrade, he wants absolutely nothing to do with that bottom lane. He's already hovering around mid. He has been spotted out by a little bit of vision and was a bunch of blue pings right on his head.
Jake is here too, though. I mean, this is the thing. Everything that Mammoth would know. Order definitely going to know as well in this particular instance. Jake does get spotted on the ward, roaming back down to the bottom lane. In fact, a couple of wards pinging him out there. But yeah, getting close to that 10-minute mark, it's still a fairly close game because it's only been the 2 kills compared to the Dragon. Mammoth are still in not a bad shape at all.
Because Mammoth actually...
Oh, hold on. Tapu, no.
Nice
he is in
buffer.
trouble. And tagging in with the axe here, it looks like Tapoon turns it around with a little help from Babin.
And the last second shield was enough to buy him just a little bit more time. Spooks is looking for the 1v2. He's on vision here, though.
He's going to get it in the Wolf's Frenzy. Dashing forward, there's the kill, and now he's going to look for Babip as well. But Olaf, as soon as he gets so low, it's very dangerous here. And into the minions goes Golden, doesn't get the heal. Babip can steal his buffs away.
And Spooks absolutely outplays himself. Tried to stop... Here's the play, right? He wants to stopwatch the axe, bait out the ability, and then he gets the 1v1 kill. But in doing so, he negated his own heal from the Lamb's Respite. Babip didn't actually throw the axe immediately, maybe expecting the juke, so a very good read from the Mammoth jungler, and that just looks real dumb.
I feel like you never want to 1v1 an Olaf, even in the best of circumstances.
That's an unlucky
and Spooks,
situation.
The self-debate.
Yeah, that feels bad.
Yeah.
That feels bad. That's one of those moments as a pro player where you're like, man, I really hope that wasn't on screen. And sorry, mate, definitely was.
Yeah, and Babip steals some double buffs back for himself as well. So the Mammoth jungler actually starting to look pretty good at the moment.
Yeah.
And this does put Mammoth actually in the gold lead, slim though it is.
Certainly have. They've got the Infernal Drake in their back pocket. You saw the early solo kill top side was the advantage for Order, or the gank rather, but also the gank in the bottom lane where Spooks was around. And in that time, Babip has been farming very effectively. He's already got his Redemption. It's a very cheap item. Of course, there's a couple of builds where people go Cinder Hulk, then Redemption. Of course, he hasn't gone that route. He's gone for the straight item rush for that just early effectiveness. And Olaf is just a very quick clearer. So when he gets space, when Spooks is spending more times punishing the lanes than punishing the jungle matchup, he can get himself a CS lead and has been doing all right with it so far.
Well, Mammoth definitely been very active around the map, and this goes back to what you were saying with the way that they wanted to play this game and open up the map early. However, they're not the only team looking to do so. Order have gone for the Rift Herald here. Tally's trying to play guard up against Tapoon. Decimating Smash, dashes away. It looks like in the mid lane, though, it's a bit of a party here. Swiffer is kind of forced to back away. Babip chasing him on, and Rift Herald was picked up, but no one can go and pick it up at the moment. Swiffer's in some trouble because Babip's stuck on him, and he takes him down.
Straight up dead is the mid laner of Order, and
nobody
yes,
gets
they killed the
Rift
Herald, but there's no way they're going to be able to pick that one up. Jake is in the area, potentially looking to suicide over for this one, but
how bad do they want it? It's
pulsating. That's just going to time out. Tally's definitely looking. Does he have the blast plant? I think he does. Oh, here we go.
They're going for it. Stepping in.
Flash.
Looks like it. They're going to be able to take down Babip, and Mammoth, they took a little bit, not enough time, I should say, to try and stop this one from happening, and all of a sudden things are turning sideways. They will turn up and chew up Tally, but that's very worth.
Is that worth for Order? I feel like no way. Double flash on the Kindred and the Scion. Of course, enhanced recall means that Spooks gets out with his life very easily just over the Baron wall. Yeah. They hard committed for that play, but Tally blows the flash. He dies on the back end. Scion was the pick into Urgot because you can stabilize and scale up very easily in this sort of matchup, but trading kills back feels pretty bad if you're Order, and that is just like a turret in the bank.
That is fair.
A lot of people think about like the Rift Herald, right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. If you use it properly, you should be able to secure it. So it's a close trade for certain, and that's why we see the gold lead now is very, very even. King is forced to flash away bottom lane while the Alistar was away in his least favorite part of the map.
Because I feel like to talk about this game a little bit more holistically, look at Mammoth's bot tier 1 turret. All they have is 4 plates. That's 1 plate gone in a Morgana Alistar lane that got an early gank off by Spooks. They had the pressure down here. I feel like, holistically, they haven't done enough with this counter pick in the bottom side. They haven't got one of the top 3 AD carries. Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Lucian are so much better than the rest of the AD carries on the current patch, in my opinion. Obviously, Order opted in for this sort of style. It's not an error on their part, so they may disagree, but Alistar, he got away with a fairly free laning phase even after getting punished very early. He has been active on the map. This is a Rift Herald they picked up, but they lost their lives on the other side, and Mammoth still maintained the gold lead. They still maintain the Infernal Dragon, which scales incredibly well for them, and now they might just get another free one in the air, Drake, so
I think it's happening.
I feel like Order's bottom side of the map just hasn't done enough.
And Mammoth's had a great game in terms of securing vision control. I mean, they've been able to keep this bottom jungle completely lit up, so they have tabs on Spooks every time he's there. And now at 14.5 minutes, they've got Dragon control of this game. They still have that gold lead, as you pointed out. Mammoth, looking to bounce back after what's been a rough couple of weeks for them.
And this
isn't the worst start against Order.
It's not the worst start. It definitely looks like a current stage Mammoth start, where they have the individual random deaths across the map. Like it was the death to Topoon in the 1v2 top side that he opted into, and it was the early plays in the bottom lane that punished King of Destiny, right? Like, this is a team that hasn't looked good as a team. They are all incredibly good individual players.
They're the super team.
Yes, that haven't been able to pull it together on a broader picture. So you expect these sort of like little mistakes on individual basis, as Destiny's going to take a big chunk.
Yeah, there's the Featherstorm though, so its ultimate's traded back and forth between the AD carry and support.
Yep.
But yeah, that is always the trouble with super teams that I've always seen. It's you have this name recognition, everyone's a superstar, but who is making the team play work? The biggest critique of Mammoth we've had is that they are all individual solid players, but there hasn't been a lot of leadership. There hasn't been a unified front in terms of what they actually do. Maybe that will change. Now, Babbitt does steal away the red buff. Let's see if he gets away with it.
Oh,
Blasco popped early. That was absolutely beautiful, but will he take Jake down with him? The answer is no, and Spooks gets his red buff transferred right back.
And Snowball MVP of week number 3, Jake flashes over the wall, auto attack on the blast cone. Babib can hit Ragnarok, and he can get himself out of that, but it was just way too quick, and very nice punish there from the support from Order.
Seriously well played from Order there to collapse in, and this is what happens when you go a little bit too deep without worrying about where the opposite team is. Here comes the Rift Herald on bottom, but King, he's brought some minions to bear as well. It's just kind of Dream shepherding this Shelly along with Spooks right now. Swiffer a little low under tower.
Turret plating long gone for 2 minutes here, so the charge does a lot of damage, but certainly doesn't break down the turret. I feel like it was just timing out. That was, I feel like, a Rift Herald taken a couple of minutes ago, and Order were opting into those fights, contesting their red buff, so Spooks didn't have time to set up the map like he would have to use it sort of effectively, so a charge is really all they get. So in terms of the conversation we were having before, the Rift Herald contest where they double flashed and Tally died, absolutely not worth when you're trading for 600 HP on a turret.
We've now determined that, yes, for sure.
Results-based analysis.
Well, that is what we do, right? That's the only kind of analysis I can do.
Yeah. So I shouldn't have said but I still wanted to
No, I set it up for the burn. It's okay. I was burning you like in my first week here, so I wanted to give you a few free shots.
Okay, sick.
Sick, yeah.
I will say, because we're having the conversation about like Mammoth are very good individually and haven't pulled it together as a team. We've seen both this game. Their early bot side river control, where they've had hella pinks, where Destiny's been roaming around and linking up with Babip a lot, is the reason that they certainly are still in this game on the bottom side of the map. We talked about this very difficult matchup on the bot side, but they've been pulling it together this game, despite those lapses in the side lanes that we talked about. So certainly signs of growth already. I mentioned it before, but this team has certainly been looking very hard for the bounce back of this split, and they've been talking about their confidence levels on social media. This is certainly looking like a game they can win.
It's hard to talk with, like a level of confidence when you have been disappointing expectations. Mammoth was supposed to be that team that was up there with Bombers that were dropping maybe 1 game, maybe 2 games. But the fact that they've come in here at 2-4 now has been cause for concern for this squad. And if they can bounce back here, that starts to put their money where their mouths are. at the moment. So Mammoth speaking about being confident. Well, they're certainly showing it here today. There's still a ways to go. It's a slim gold lead. They're going to make it even slimmer at the moment because Dream, he doesn't even move when the Alistair goes in because he knows Jake has his back.
That's just communication, you know. You can do that on a couple of supports. Thresh Lantern, Morgana Shield. You just stand there knowing full well the ability is there to save you, so...
Yeah. It's even better on Morgana because you actually don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate lazy AD carry ability.
You can just stand there and be a turret.
Yes.
It feels like a good time. You don't have to click buttons.
Tutorial League of Legends.
Right-click once, and that's it. The man on your screen now, though, we haven't talked about the mid-matchup too much. Triple has had priority for the majority of the game. We're now almost 20 minutes in where Baron becomes an objective, but he's just been pressuring, hitting Swiver with a few bubbles here and there, and then forcing some vision around the map where he can. Redemption comes out as Babip pops a beating.
Gets a little bit of health back for that one, and on the retreat path, Triple goes in, doesn't find quite the damage he's looking for. And Swiffer looking for revenge, but there's an insta-cleanse out of Triple. The rest of Mammoth are here. Triple trying to zoom away. The Featherstorm flash! And he goes gold. Dream is denied. In goes Destiny. This time he gets a knock-up, and Mammoth are there to try and find the kills, but Destiny running the wrong way. Tally looking to cut him down to size. Gets him, but he's going to pay for it with his own life. Mammoth came to this party prepared, but will they be able to leave it before it's all over? King gets chunked out as well. 1-for-2 trade.
And so close, but just wasn't enough. Destiny literally face palms. Stopwatch from Swiffer is good.
There we go. That's the stopwatch. Okay. So that was a hectic fight. Triple, that's
flash,
the spell thief flash forward. Jake immediately going for the black shield once again. So that's it. That was just the encore performance.
Looking to shepherd out the rest of the order lineup, potentially looking for their second air drake of the game, but that was a nice catch from Spooks that started that one all off, right? That was Babip having to use the redemption to save his life, not to force a team fight that they want to fight for. Nice stopwatch from Triple, saves himself from the flash Metastor from Dream. I feel like out of all the 80 carries in the OPL, it's very easy for me to say this because Dream plays the most Xayah, so he has the most opportunities. But he's a flash R80 carry. And we're going to see how this one started off. It was a bubble. Swiffer looking for the hard engage. He blows the ulti to get the cleanse and then W afterwards. And here we will see the Featherstorm flash forward. That's the top stopwatch that I'm talking about. In just a moment, Destiny gets a very nice combo. And this is just a front-to-back team fight, but he flashes into the wall. So he's dead and gone way out early. Rip back from Topoon means they are able to answer, but Order still, it is a 2-for-1. They're finding their way back into this game. Nothing King can do at that point, and they get the Dragon off the back end. They will wrestle some of that control back, and now it's 200 gold, but they do find themselves back in the lead.
That's true. Order do equalize on the Cloud Drakes at the very least. You'll see that pop up on the screen in just a moment. But yeah, 20 minutes. The Baron now becomes the big priority play. It's close calls, though. Mammoth are definitely showing that they can fight it out against Order. They're not rolling over. It's been very close across the board. And yeah, I think having an AD carry that likes to frontline like that, Dream plays around it very well. You don't normally talk about frontline AD carries looking so good. But that was beautiful. It was just a critical stopwatch that stopped Triple from going down. I'm going to give you a little bit of crap. You were technically wrong because it was not a flash ult. It was not flash. Ha!
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, I know,
Once
right?
again, I hit you with a sick, bro.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll cop it.
That's like the paper cut of Burns.
I'll cop it. Yeah,
Yeah, it still stings, but really it's not of no
yeah,
consequence.
technically correct is the worst kind of correct, by the way. But
That is not how you quote that.
20 minutes, 21:40 to be exact into the game, so Baron is definitely on the cards. There's a few little things to watch out for as we progress through this game. Both of these teams can start up Baron and do it fairly quickly. This is double 80 carry comp in the Kindred Xayah for Order, so they shred that one down. This is hyper carry in the Kai'Sa with the damage jungle like Olaf, with AP mid laner like the Zoe, so they can also burn it down. And both teams have a beefy front line to be able to start it up whenever they want. But the cool thing is Lamb's Respite. This is one of those games that I can feel is so even heading into the 20-minute mark that this may just be, unless someone makes a big mistake, like a very long Baron dance, right? And those where you get like the smite fights where people contesting over the wall, Lamb's Respite to bait out the smite from the enemy jungler, things like that. Spooks has already tried to make a cheeky play with his ultimate. Unfortunately, it didn't work earlier, but certainly has opportunity as this game progresses forwards.
Yeah, and the stakes keep getting higher and higher if nobody drops down early as this Baron dance will commence. And,
Yep.
you know, everybody's kind of taking their places at the stage here. You do have pressure on the bottom because Tally is pushing with the teleport.
Yep.
And you can see Mammoth are pinging that they have to respond to this at some point. So Tapoon goes there easily. He has a teleport as well. But this should give Ward Prio over to Order. who have been playing the map very well this game.
Nice shield.
Boy.
Oh, almost a very nice buy and lead.
Yeah, but they have
no
in triple
flash
for a second. No flash available. They go forward, and he gets shut down before Babip can get off that redemption. And it's going to be the tower falling, and Order hit the go button. Keep on going forward. Looking for Tapoon. Goes golden. Instant exhaust down, but he's chunked so low in an auto attack. From Swiffer is all it takes, and I think that might be enough to start the Baron up.
Yeah, from straight over the wall. That was just very nice play there from Order. They time the summoner, triple missteps, and they punish immediately.
Speaking of missteps, though, Dream. Oh, that was close.
Swiffer does not have flash for just a few seconds longer. King being chased down,
yeah,
binding.
Nowhere for him to go. He actually tries to go back to the safety of the turret, but Swiffer takes him out. And forget about the Baron. They should be able to get a few more pot shots on this tower, and now it's over to the big purple worm.
But is it enough? Did King buy enough time with his death? Tapoon just used the TP to make it to the last play. Had exhaust, so he couldn't flash away, but King did buy just a little bit of time. Destiny is not on vision right now, I believe, no, and does have a big flank. There's certainly potential here, but the damage is only going to be Zoe. Triple walking in from the right.
Yeah, so Babip is there, getting chased out by Swiffer. He gets rooted down. He would have a flash, and let's see if he can actually get in there in time. Swiffer having to flash back into the pit himself, and now it's kind of anybody's game here. There's a shutdown. Triple does fall, and into the pit he goes! Oh. That's going to be taken by Spooks, though. An early smite up for Babip. Excuse me, he doesn't even get the smite off at all. And Tapoon pulls somebody out of the Lamb's Respite. Spooks does fall. Order is going to die as well, or Tally's going to die as well, I should say. So Order pay a very high price for their Baron.
Incredibly high price. Jake, the only member left standing with the buff. That was a very close smite fight. The flank we were talking about from Destiny did them a lot of favors, allowed Triple and Babip to get into the front lines to actually contest that one. Will get themselves a turret and a bit of map control back up and available, but see how this one plays out. See Destiny, his flash actually comes up and available. Very nice from Dream to dodge that one out, but bubble onto Swiffer. Proto Belt picks Triple up, double kills here in the back end, and Babip, that was just a very close call there. Lamb's Respite by Spooks, a little bit of time on the back end, but he just gets ripped back by Tapoon. TP 80 carry in King allows for the cleanup. And Mammoth, they find themselves a bunch of kills, but Order walk away with a single buff.
And Mammoth walk away with another dragon as well. So that's another cloud picked up by King. At this point, he can solo them. So, we haven't talked as much about items this game, but there has been so much parity in the gold game. It's kind of following that it should be the same way.
Yep.
But as Mammoth are getting, more of their items fleshed out, they should be more confident in their ability to fight. You could see Triple was a huge threat there on the line. King was being able to mop up quite well, and he's sitting on those two items, so he's not too far behind Dream, despite the fact that Dream has kind of been pulling double duty this game.
Yeah, you kind of, in terms of like the 80 carries, expect the Kai'Sa to be useful more early. 1 to 2 items, her items just mean a lot more. But Dream is very close with the pickaxe with the BF sword to hitting his IE, and at 3 items he will be outputting so much more damage that a 1-3 Kai'Sa in King's hand will ever want to. Not to mention he has the safety of a Black Shield and also has heal as his summoner instead of the TP. So in teamfights certainly has a lot more opportunities here. Another build that's interesting to note is Spooks. In terms of Kindred, over the past kind of 6 months, she's floated in and out of the meta, but you either see Devourer into Black Cleaver, which I will note I certainly would have liked this game, into a Alistar Olaf Urgot composition. He has gone for the longer range, potentially respecting the fact that Zoe is a thing and he wants to play on the outskirts of these fights, so there's a bit more of a threat from farther away.
That's fair. So it has been just such a close affair here, and I think this does speak kind of bounds to a lot of the parity there is between teams in the OPL. It's a smaller league. There's only 8 teams, of course, compared to some of our major regions across the world in League of Legends that have like 10, 12. The LPL's case 16 teams.
7 million. Yep.
It's nuts. But I think this also shows that Mammoth, while they've had a couple of rough weeks, are starting to pull things together. It's been chaotic. They've had a lot of individual mistakes and team play mistakes, but they have been able to get some fights out. Let's see if they can actually finish them, though, because it looks like Tapoon's just getting chunked through.
That was just the freest engage of all time. Steps way too far forward. Lysandra locks him down with
individual mistakes, Bryce.
No QSS, no cleanse in the hands of the top laner, and he just falls incredibly easily. Order, with only their single Baron buff in the hands of Jake, they just 5-man it up bottom lane. With TP, this is kind of a weird play, but they just hard commit. Yeah. They find the pick they need, and they break open the base before 30 minutes. That's
the ignition key right there. Is as soon as they find Tapoon caught out, they knock him down, they knock the tower, they get everything they want. And now Mammoth are going to be nursing a major weak point in their base, broken into. And there's nothing to really take on the map for some time. Next Baron is going to be some time away. The Elder Dragon is still 7 minutes from spawning. We'll get another Elemental before that even happens.
Yep.
So yeah, Mammoth are going to have to play the waiting game, it seems.
Certainly have. They have a little bit of time now where they have more control on the map than Order do, just because they were committing to that inhib. They may just potentially be looking for a bit of a cheeky play here. Hex Flash still in Destiny's hands. Kai'Sa is mobile. Zoe can head over walls, so if anyone from Order kind of missteps, the pick is certainly up and available. Blue Trinket used there by Dream. I feel like it did actually spot out the lineup of Mammoth, and they fish for an engage, but unfortunately don't find it.
Yeah, sometimes when you fish, you gotta wait a little before you get a nibble. Especially with a team like Order, who I think play with probably more composure than almost any team in the league. From watching them, they're a team that
someone
that do seem
argue
to weigh.
Direwolves.
I think Direwolves are probably that one exception to that statement. That's fair. But even though we saw last game, they are prone to still making a couple of mistakes. But yeah, I think it's fair to say Order are a very deliberate team.
Deliberate, I like. Deliberate is a word that I feel like hands down describes Order, right? Like they come in with a style, they execute that style, and they don't really stray from that very heavily. Last split, when you were not here, I just called them the Mallet team because they just played these kinds of comps. Different meta, different champions, but hard engage out of the top lane. Swiffer, he likes the Galio, he likes the Liss, he likes those hard engage utility sort of champions.
Every team looks like a nail, man.
Yep, and yeah, you just whack him into wood, and either you hit your thumb and it hurts real bad, or you win the game.
That's the only two ways it works.
Yep.
Unless you're me and then you just completely miss.
I will note right now, Destiny, chucking a Martyr right now. Very deep flank. They know Baron is up and available, so Order, what happens is they expend all their wards onto the top side of the map. They have zero control on the bottom side, so Destiny wraps all the way around. This is a TP out from the Lissandra.
Okay.
But they have absolutely no idea where Destiny is on the map right now, and he can cause a ruckus.
He's sitting on Flash, too. He can really close the gap quickly.
Oh, Tapoon.
Sipping right. Oh, Tapoon, though, he's caught out once again. And now, Order are pushing up towards the mid. It looks like Mammoth trying to collapse around them. Order going to try to make their escape. Here's Destiny
again.
around the side. You can't black shield everybody, Jake. And he goes in, gets a big knockup. Now there's going to be a redemption coming through, but will the fight be over before it even happens? You can see Babim's going to fall immediately. Order just have so much damage despite the fact that they were flanked. They can mop up Mammoth.
And that might just be the game. Order may not even need the Baron to close this one out. Lissandra is the only member that dies. Bubble does land from triple. Doesn't go in for the play.
Oh boy. This is part of the risk of playing when you have a downed inhibitors. Once you lose those fights, you're in trouble, and triple has to flash and zoom back to the fountain. This is going to be another inhib,
and
at least.
Do they look for the end? They do. Don't go back towards the Baron. It's double carries alive in triple and king. They have the damage to potentially defend this one. Order.
Get the demolition down, and they throw down the Lamb's Respite just for good measure here as Triple trying to find the kill onto somebody, anybody, but it's not going to happen. Triple will polish up Jake, but the final couple shots would be all Tally needs, and Mammoth are holding on, but there's a zombie Scion. We've seen this movie before, Bryce. There's the ace, the knockback, and Mammoth are still alive.
And Biopanther can do it, but unfortunately Tally barely gets denied the Nexus take, and that may just be a point of power here for Mammoth. They lose the team fight, but because they can trade, this is 30 seconds that Order are off the map. Baron is up and available. Their base is in shambles, but they know Liss has no TP. There's no threat of a backdoor. You can see Swiffer walking over. He has a single trinket available. You expect him to try and maintain some vision of the Baron pit.
Yeah, there's the
ward.
ward.
Can he one-man contest?
That's the question. He could certainly harass. So here's Babip and Triple. Teleport coming through. Destiny around the side as well. And everybody from Order slowly coming back to life here. There's a big wave pushing top. The last inhibitor remaining. This is a 3-man Baron attempt. And the rest of Order starting to close in. But it's desperate times, calling for desperate measures. Baron is secured. Stealth backs. They're going to have to try him. At the very least, Swiffer going in, looking for the kill onto King. And they're going to get it.
And is that enough? 53 seconds.
Oh boy, that was something.
He doesn't get him. It was
that was so close.
The claw comes out, based me in the last second, and
that was so close.
Doesn't fall down. So 40 seconds now. Baron creeps will be here to defend in the hands of Mammoth, but Order just have the straight up man advantage.
It's also super creeps in 2 lanes as well that Mammoth have to contend with. Triple portal hopping.
Is a long way away. Tally is looking, though.
Oh, he's just frontlining this one. Here's Destiny, looking to try and get the flank off onto Spooks, but he's just getting chunked through from the feathers consistently. He's out of this fight, and it looks like this might be everything here for Order. All they need to do is win it through the exhaust, through it all. The double kill for Dream, looking for triple, nowhere for him to go. And that's going to be the Nexus. All it took was one more attempt at it, and they'll take the win. Order at 33 minutes.
And second try is the Nexus deletion from the game. That last team fight, pre-Baron, really summed it all up, right? Like, Destiny goes for a huge flank. Urgot ulti goes slightly wide, and that was the fight that Mammoth needed to wrestle control back in that game. Unfortunately, they could not find it. The list bought so much time in the back of that fight for a game where Swiffer early did literally nothing. He sat underneath his turret and just wave cleared and got pushed in by the Zoe. It's somewhat the matchup, somewhat how Order played their early game, but that last team fight goes into the backline, basically solos out King. Zoe can't deal damage, and they just play that front to back. That's what their comp does. We mentioned it so many times. They're not a fancy team. They just play their style.
Yeah.
They got the team fight, clean up the victory, and then Mammoth did what they could to get something back, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, that is the thing about playing the same kind of style over and over again. At some point, you're just so high level in what you've spec'd into that it's really hard for anybody to actually fight you on those terms. So, kudos to Order for really sticking to their guns. Mammoth, it's another heartbreaker of the start to their week. They continue to lose consistently on Fridays. They've, of course, already had the Saturday loss last week. And, maybe they can start turning it around, but it just wasn't this game. Order just too strong.
I feel like we need to mention, Order won this game, but that was a good game from Mammoth, right? There were definitely hiccups individually, but I feel like in draft, I took a lens to Destiny, right? Like, he got hard denied in his champion pool. The Morgana blind is tough. He picks the alley into it, but then I feel like he was a member that definitely stepped up for their lineup, right? Like, he is the leader of this team. He's been the most vocal on social media, and he's the guy that was actually forcing plays to happen that were working, right? Like, he did what he had to do in a rough situation, and I feel like there are certainly things for Mammoth to take away from this one. This wasn't a super tough loss where they just got smacked around by a better team. It was very close up until the 20-25 minute mark, and so I feel like out of the realm of an unacceptable loss, an acceptable loss, this one feels probably pretty good for Mammoth.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a shellacking. And on that note, let's send it over to the couch.
Hello, it's the couch. How are you doing? Good to know. Congratulations to Order on that game.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe I had my bias hat on, but I kind of saw the game the opposite of what the Deaths did. I actually thought that, with the exception of the early Fire Drake that Mammoth were able to get against some priority, which maybe shouldn't happen if you're playing Zyra and Morgana, that Order kind of dictated the pace of that game. Even on the Infernal Drake play, Spook's cross map killed the Urgot, got the Summoner spells, around Rift Herald, they got the shutdown at that time that I don't think was caught, and it was actually a very good trade, and then Order systematically just broke open the map. And the thing is, when you're using a crit 80 carry, like Zyra, they still ramp up the exact same. I feel like people just sleep on how good Infinity Edge is because not a lot of people have it. But she got 2 turrets solo gold, and then Dream just took over the map with a Morgana shield. I thought that was pretty clean play, to be honest.
Yeah, there was 2 takeaways for me, right? It felt like a lot of the game was Order on offense, Mammoth on defense. But I will speak for Mammoth. I think individually they were playing quite well.
Yeah.
Specifically, Triple, I think, was having a very good game, even though he was in a very awkward position. Imagine playing Zoe into everyone on the enemy team that will just murder you if you get in range of them. But he had a very good game for himself. And I think that this is the kind of defeat that you do learn something from. I think a lot of their other defeats at times, you're it's just so hard to take a good thing from it.
But how do you this is my problem with that game, and I'm sure everyone on Order would say the same thing, and this is where I will put the very biased lens on. In Oceania, games devolve to 5v5 team fight unless you're Avant. Avant is the only team so far that has shown that they can win the game through laning phase, which you guys did last week with your Kane pick, which was actually really fun to watch. But every other team has got to a point where you have to 5v5. Yeah. Now, your decision is you're going to 5v5 a Lissandra, a Kindred, and a Scion. And your frontline tools are an Urgot, who's not even a pure tank.
And they have a Morgana into it.
And they have a Morgana. There is just no way that if a game gets to a 5v5 state, unless the miracle bubble takes out one of our backline threats, that you ever win a 5v5 team fight in that situation. And I feel like this is a complaint that we had a lot of the teams last year, like Tectonic, where it's give your team the best chance to win through draft, and unfortunately that's not crushing every lane.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? The contrast to this is if you don't have the best team fight, you have to be able to win lane or get ahead somehow. And I wouldn't say that they were going to win lanes. You know, they might have had some tempo in mid, jungle maybe, but like that's not enough.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, picking tempo jungles as well is also really hard. And like, I'm glad that Babip went to it because last year he was one of the junglers that could play tempo junglers. He actually had a really good Olaf, had a really good Kindred, but it's actually just really, really tough to play in a team fight meta because it's one of those things, if you don't punish for the first 25 minutes, after 25 minutes, Olaf, as Bryce said on the broadcast, is like just a little bit crap at the moment. So I think that, like, yeah, there were some positives to take away from that game. On the flip side, I think that Order played really disciplined League of Legends. Like, I was sitting upstairs with a big smile on my face, but I just want to see more out of this Mammoth lineup. I was so pumped when they came together. Yeah. This is the best of Direwolves and the best of the Chiefs in my head with a promising young rookie top laner, and they just haven't seemed to be able to make it work.
And Rusty, Jake said before the game that, you know, Mammoth need to turn this around in the next week or two before it probably gets in their heads too much. Right now, they're losing against the top of the table. They're losing against the bottom of the table. Tomorrow they face Legacy. I mean, what are they doing between now and then? I
mean, that one is the most must-win, I would say, of the split for Mammoth, right? Like, they need to go back to the drawing board and not necessarily reinvent the wheel or anything, but just like take the positives from this game, implement them again tomorrow. I honestly would just put triple on Yasuo and say poop on them. Like, just make it bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of two ways you can go. We actually had a similar situation on Order, and, you know, maybe Tally will talk towards it because, like, he's going to be interviewed in a second. But we had a week kind of like, or a couple of weeks kind of like this, and we just sat down and we watched the VOD and we were like, who do we want to be like? And then we just picked an LPL team and like, we like replicated their gameplay.
Like
because the thing is like, the players on last year Order and, you know, this year Mammoth are good enough to copy the best players in the world. I assure you that's how all of them learn. So we just literally like copied setups, copied deploys, like copied everything off a team. And then like once you learn again, then you can start reincorporating things into your game. But it just seems like there is a key teamwork element right now that is missing.
All right, well, a teamwork element that is not missing is from Order, and part of that team is Tally. He's at the desk with Pyro.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. Yeah, so you guys kind of business as usual. You put on the gloves, got down to work, and it felt like so many Order games. It's always controlled, it's deliberate. Is there ever a point, like in this game, that you guys felt like really like, okay, it's gotten a little out of hand and we have to pull it back?
I guess that'd be the Baron. It was really like a lot more risky than it should have been from the advantage we got in the mid lane. And it really came down to the 50-50 smart in the end. And thank you, Spooks, for getting that Baron.
Yeah, no, it worked out. I mean, you kind of only had one person alive to walk away from it, but it still counts for the Baron buff.
Yeah.
So that kind of aside, you guys still had a pretty solid overall performance against Mammoth. And your coach outed you as a not Urgot player. So I want to ask you personally, why do you not like the giant crab?
I don't say I dislike him. I just more like I feel like I fulfill the role of a mage player. And like the meta right now, I don't think it's my meta, and I'm kind of just being a role player for the team.
Okay.
And like when my meta will come around again eventually, then like I'll get to play my mages, and then I'll shine, and then like either our bot lane or our mid lane will become the role player of the team. And so I think that it's really like really good players are able to play the roles even though they're not good at them. So I think that's an advantage that I have on other people.
It seems like you can still hunt for a little bit of highlights, though. I saw you almost emulated BioPanther at the close to the end of the game. Did you kind of have that highlight in mind when you were trying to like wail away at the Nexus before they knocked you away?
I was the first thing I thought was like I have passive, but I'm not making it to this Nexus.
Oh no!
I was as soon as I died, I was just laughing. I was like, all right, one more time, guys, let's go again.
There you go. Okay, so before I let you go, I want to ask you a little bit about something Spawn mentioned over at the couch, that you guys kind of went back and looked at like LPL teams and how to like kind of emulate a different team. What was that process like, presuming that that's what happened after your week 1 performance and into your now 5-win streak?
It's pretty much just we find a team that we feel can fit our identity, whereas like it'd be a team fighting team or someone who's really good 1-3-1, and then we pretty much just try copy their play style and play champions that we're good at that also fulfill the role of say like team fighting, and we'll just like build on that from that position and just try to get really good at one thing.
All right. Well, very cool. Thank you so much for joining me. Congrats again on the win.
Thank you very much.
All right, back over to the couch.
We fired Rusty.
He got one tip wrong.
Yeah.
Out. That's the new spicy tips.
And you're gone. I believe something just smashed somewhere on the set.
I hope Pyro didn't kill Tally, because I need a top laner, and I only have one.
That would be terrible. I mean, if anyone has to die, it's probably going to be the dog. Speaking of Pyro, though, we do have, because, we were talking about the horoscopes. Now, you and Pyro are actually born in the same year.
Same year.
But
different month.
Different month.
He's older than me.
Pyro,
and he looks it too.
I mean, I didn't want to say, but he wears his age, some would say badly. But he was born just before February, I believe, or in February. So it means that he is actually a different year when it comes to the Lunar New Year.
That's true, because their Lunar New Year isn't 1990. It's like, yeah.
Because otherwise you guys would have the same thing, and then he, again, could be your blossoming romance. So let's get up Pyra's horoscope, and Pyra, you can talk us through it.
All right. I don't even have a picture, so I feel like I'm kind of
well, that's what happens when you don't go to the picture day.
Yeah, well, I would have liked to, but I was in China. Anyways, it's the year of the snake. Snakes have a deep and complex mind, but if they love with their entire heart. And it's not just a blossoming romance. It's a full-on one. 2019 will be a very difficult year with many obstacles due to their incompatibility with the pig. That's bad for me because this is the year of the pig. Okay, and over the course of the year, you can expect romantic interactions to leave you underwhelmed at best.
I get blossoming romance. You get underwhelming love.
Maybe you're the maybe I'm the blossoming romance for you, Spawn, and you're gonna underwhelm me.
I love, we're doing TriCasting, by the way. That's why Rusty's there. Apparently he got his job back. I love the fact that with this, because most horoscopes are just like bullshit. Yeah. And it's just like, here's some good news for your day.
Absolutely.
The Chinese, the lunar horoscope is basically like, if you are incompatible with this year, shit's going to get rough.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah.
Maybe hibernate for a year. Try and do what a bear does.
And maybe, you started off rough by having a bunch of redbacks in your bedroom. So
that's probably why this year was starting off rough.
It was a bad omen.
They were
underwhelming at best.
Underwhelming at best. I mean, the spiders.
The romance with the spiders.
Yeah.
Well, they're not underwhelming at best. They eat each other afterwards.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't want that kind of romance.
No one wants that kind of romance. But the kind of romance you do want in your life is with a HyperX headset, and you can win one if you enter our cosplay competition. You just need to make the cheapest, most budge, most crappy cosplay you possibly can using leftover goods from your house. Send it to us at OPL with the hashtag IamOPL on Twitter. The winner will get the headset. The loser will be the rest of you. But the winner will get the headset. So that seems pretty good. Again, I feel like that can't be topped. I deserve a prize.
Once again, winner is in quotation marks here. We really are looking for scrappy DIY. If anyone goes out and purchases anything for this, you've wasted money because we're not picking you.
There's some great entries already. My favorite one, you could barely call it a costume. There's not even clothes involved. So, it's about as budge as you get. I just want to point out as well that a lot of the chat is very angry with me for saying that dogs die when you feed them chocolate, or that Bailey might die. Bailey's going to be fine. Probably.
And look, Bailey still loves it. Or me. Bailey loves me.
He loves the table.
He doesn't understand his angles, though. Like, if you're going to host, we'll put that in there.
So now the table gets a bed.
This is a little bit of redecorating.
And now the table gets its own solo shot. And Bailey, you just sleep. Oh, I'm sorry.
Who stained? Is that a chili stain on the side of the table? Who was that?
It probably is.
God damn it.
All right, well, pay no attention to the table. It's time to get back to the desk with the TriCasting trio of Rusty, Ejim, and Pyra.